book that is coming out.
Yes, this topic, the opposite of talking isn't listening, it's waiting to talk, is a chapter in the book, Picture Yourself a Leader, Illustrated Micro Lessons in Navigating Change. And that comes out April 19. Yes, I will be I'll give you a link, Dr. M, that you can let people sign up if they want to attend the book launch party, and more. We've got some fun things coming up, which Katie is a part of. And, yeah.
No, I was going to say, and I've had a preview of the book and it's great. So get your pre-order in.
Yeah, Katie is an esteemed member of my editorial board, and I am very, very excited that is the case because she helped make it even better. So very exciting. It's coming out, and I'm going to share an image from the book that is it's illustrated, which makes it a little bit of a specialty item. But I'm going to share an image that is from this chapter.
Lovely.
The opposite of listening. Talking isn't listening. Anyway, so that is there. And back over to you. I'm going to stop sharing so I don't keep hogging the airwaves there. But yeah, thank you for highlighting that, Dr. M. Really appreciate it.
Oh, you gave me the lead. You gave me the lead that I need to remind, and I've been listening very well. And
welcome to Dr. M Wadcast, a Wadcast with a mission, connecting continuous improvement professionals across the world. Greetings from Dr. M. You are on Dr. M's SMET Show, and this is episode 3. The guests on this episode are both from America, and they are Elisabeth Swan from Massachusetts and Katie Anderson from San Francisco Bay Area. What are they going to exchange thoughts about? The theme, or the subject as you may. The opposite of talking isn't listening, it is waiting to talk. This episode is in 3 segments. Segment 1 of 5 minutes, segment 2 of 10 minutes, and segment 3 of 10 minutes. So here we go to segment 1.
Hi, Katie Anderson and Elisabeth Swan, and thank you very much to be on Dr. M's SMET show, single-digit minute exchange of thoughts. You're on the 3rd episode, and you're on the 1st segment. This show is divided into 3 segments. First segment of 5 minutes, so you get a takt time of 2.5 minutes. The second segment is of 10 minutes, where you exchange your thoughts. And the 3rd segment, both of you have to summarize the basic, what we call adage. Okay, let's call it adage or theme, what have you. It's called the opposite of talking isn't listening, it's waiting to talk. Right? So now I hand it over in the alphabetical order because both of you are celebrities. So the E comes before K. And therefore, Elisabeth, take it over. Let me start the timer now. Where the hell is the timer? Okay, here we start the timer. And that's for 5 minutes. Your time starts now, Elisabeth.
Thank you, Dr. M. Great to be here. So the name is Elisabeth Swan, as you have introduced me. I am based on Cape Cod, Massachusetts. I have been a business process improvement consultant for over 30 years. I'm the co-host of the Just-in-Time CAFÉ podcast and a few other endeavors. And this topic that you just described is a chapter in a book that I have coming out in April. And it is a quote I got from an early mentor, a man by the name of John Gaspari. He wrote a lot of quality books. One of them most famous is probably I Know It When I See It. And it always stuck with me that it's such a truism, right? The opposite of talking isn't necessarily listening. It is more likely to be waiting to talk. And I remember early on, I worked at a consulting firm. I was very low down on the totem pole, and there were a lot of senior consultants. And at every meeting, it seemed that people had formed like an informal stutter. Like they would hold court, and when they weren't sure of their next words, they'd say and then not let anyone in, knowing that somebody was ready to cut in because they were waiting to talk. And I think also that we have this sense, especially if we are consultants, we are bringing our wisdom into the world, that we add value by talking, right? By giving our opinions, our thoughts, that's our value, right? Literally, people are paying for that. So it's very hard not to think, oh, I need to add my 2 cents, right? To be worth 2 cents. And it takes a while. And I think I've finally realized my value is more in the questions I ask. That's been a shift over time, having recognized this very human foible that you have to sort of work against, and that was a great way, an avenue for me to redefine my view. And that is my tack time is up, as you said.
Over to you, Katie.
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Anderson. I'm a leadership and learning coach and consultant and the author of Learning to Lead, Leading to Learn, Lessons from Toyota leader Isao Yoshino on a Lifetime of Continuous Learning. And I have a confession to make. My name is Katie Anderson, and I have a telling habit. And I guarantee you all have a telling habit too. And this goes exactly to what Elisabeth was talking about and why we decided this was the topic of our conversation here today, is building on what Elisabeth said. We are habituated and even trained and rewarded as we grow through our education and our early careers for being the one with the answer and coming in and developing expertise. And, who can put their hand up fast enough in the classroom to give the right answer. So this is something that we feel like we need to be doing as we grow in our careers as well. But really, when our purpose and our role shifts from just working independently as one person to come up with the answer, but you're working either on teams or you're a people leader as well, it's not always about you having the answer. It's about how you're cultivating the capability and confidence for other people to also come up with the answer. And in fact, your answer in your head may not always be the right answer. So, it's not that our ideas are no longer valid or that our ideas don't count, but it's that we're in this habit of telling. And when we can move from more telling to more asking and balance this, what I call the advocacy inquiry continuum better, we will be more effective in drawing out more thinking and also coming up with better ideas. You know what the unintended consequence is? And when we're jumping in with all our ideas, not only are we shutting down the possibility of other engagement and creativity, we are burdening ourselves with the responsibility of the taking the action and the doing. And so we end up feeling like we don't have time to ask questions. So if you're finding yourself wanting to jump in with the answer all the time, pay attention to that. Count to 10. Give a little more space. Get comfortable with that pause. And also know that your desire to contribute also comes from a good place because you're really wanting to help and contribute ideas. But it's about understanding what's the best way to be helpful in that situation. And I look forward to diving into that in discussion with Elisabeth a little bit more.
Great. And now we move over to segment 2. Thank you very much.
Honestly, I was listening. And now I'm resisting temptation to talk. And therefore, I'm taking you over to segment 2. And let's listen to them, what they have to exchange their thoughts about.
Here we are in segment 2. And the segment 2 is of 10 minutes. And whatever you have captured, whatever we have captured in segment 1, Katie Anderson and Elisabeth, let's talk to each other. You're going to talk to each other. And I made it very clear that this is not a discussion or a debate. We evolve upon it. And it's a dialogue. And both of you are amazing speakers. So please, I'm not waiting to talk. I'm just waiting to listen. Go ahead. And now we start with Katie. Go ahead, Katie, and take it over from Katie and Elisabeth. 10 minutes, and let me start the timer. You can't escape my timer. Start my timer. There we go.
Well, I'll start building off of the moment that I really realized that I have a telling habit. And it was really dramatic for me. I had a coach who was working with me. I was a director of a large healthcare organization, leading the continuous improvement efforts. And I knew about coaching, and I knew that my role I needed to shift it from being the doer to the developer of people. I didn't realize how deep my habit was of jumping in with my ideas or my desire to cut people off. So I was literally interrupting people all the time. And I kind of knew this, but didn't really realize it. And that getting back to what Elisabeth was saying at the beginning, that the opposite of talking isn't listening. It's, it's getting ready to talk. Along myself, I was always paying attention, maybe at the beginning to what people were saying, but then I started paying attention to what was going on in my own head, and I just wanted to jump in. And it came from this real desire to contribute and to be part of it. It was really us cutting people off and shutting them down. And so once I had this realization, it was such a dramatic change for me, paying attention to, not interrupting, and to really listening, and to asking open questions rather than saying, I think, and always offering my opinion. Now, there's a time and place for that, but it's often not helpful. And so that has been really, really powerful for me. Elisabeth, when did you realize that this was going on for you?
I think just hearing that quote that went on in my mind for a long time. The other big thing that really struck me, this was a series by Tony Hillerman, and he wrote about a Navajo detective. And I remember that when the FBI guy, who was not Navajo, would ask questions, the Navajo detective would always come back later and ask more questions because he knew that the agent had not given people time to take the question in and answer it. That they hadn't allowed that pause you just described. And it struck me as so fascinating that culturally, it's okay to jump in, right? That's kind of a norm that we're like, oh yeah, you're making me think of this. And so it was, wow, there's another way to behave. You could actually be always allowing that pause for people to respond, which is for some people excruciating, like allowing silence. It's just like, I gotta fill that. So, it made me go, okay, I gotta get more comfortable with that silence, because some people, they're processing what just got put out there, like whether it's a thought or a question, idea, and giving people time to form their own thoughts. Because if you're, and I was raised with a big family, and, storytelling was that's how you got heard, and you had to get your story out before somebody else had a better story. They were gonna take the floor. So to shift that and think, okay, so I not only have to allow a pause for another person, I've got to watch for other people getting cut off, right? Because I see, they were trying to add, but somebody more energetic or more excited, or it's often very innocent. It's not like I want to dominate the conversation. You don't even know you're dominating the conversation, right? Later on, someone might tell you, no one else got a word in edgewise. It's like, I didn't know that.
Totally. One of the things I've been always have been working with, but in particular lately with some intact leadership teams, is really talking about this advocacy inquiry continuum. And I am transparent about counting to 10 after I ask a question to model that behavior. And it feels really awkward to everyone to get this but then, I just say, this is why I'm doing it, because how often have you had someone say, so any questions? Okay, and move on. If you count to 10, people just ask questions or make a comment around count 6, 7, 8, 9, or even 10. And so if we're asking a question, it's disrespectful not to give that space for someone to think and to reply, or even to think of another question. And so, it's about slowing, as you said, slowing that pace down and getting more comfortable with the silence. And really that, I count to 10 to this day, because it's a countermeasure to my natural tendency to want to jump in. And I literally have to sit on my hands when I'm in a meeting, so I feel my excitement coming. I take that intention pause about, well, what's my purpose and my role in this meeting or this engagement? And is the most important thing for me to get my idea out right now? Or is it to provide space for thinking to happen? And perhaps I'll contribute my idea as well, but how do you hold that space?
So I could see you sitting on your hands. I could see that very vividly, right? Because you are just a fountain, right? Like, oh my God. And, people want to hear your idea, so it's not a bad thing. I think for me, what helps is jot down. Someone has said something. It sparks something in me, and that's great. And I don't want to lose it. So I just will make some slight note so I can keep listening, because I know that the freight train that's in your brain is going to start forming your sentence, forming how to respond. And then as soon as you're on that train, you have stopped listening. You're not paying attention. And so that person, they're going to continue their thought, but alone. And then you come back in, and the freight train is responding to something a few minutes ago. So writing, you have the 10 seconds. I make those notes. I also, as you're describing, I try to make it a norm such that people know there's that 10 seconds. Because, people don't have the idea trigger that you have, right? That whereas you are just like on the edge of your seat with, I got this great idea. They're not operating that way. So once they know, like you've set that norm, there's 10 seconds, then they can collect themselves and respond. And that, especially like in teaching on Zoom, I really have to set that norm. And then when I think, I've left time and now it's time to move on, and I say, okay, and then someone goes, actually, I had one, and I'm thinking, so I'm still too quick. I'm still not giving that moment. Yeah. It's really hard.
It is really hard. And the more we can normalize creating the pause and why we are doing that, just like you said, like I tell people, this is why I'm literally counting to 10, and I encourage you to start doing that too. When we had some reflections recently, some of these leaders came back saying, realize how much I'm not comfortable with this pause, and it's really hard to practice, but they're finding it's actually creating more engagement. People actually feel like they're being heard. So, I always think back to parenting as well, like, your kids come with me with questions about math. And yeah, there is like one right answer to the math equation, unlike a lot of our complex issues that we're dealing with in our workplace where there could be many, many right answers. But if I just answer their question, I'm shutting down the opportunity for them to learn. I think one of the things we get so caught up in, it's just easier to give that answer, to jump in with our idea, rather than holding that space and allowing people to think through what the idea that they need us to have the answer, but really they need us to have that space. And when I'm helping leaders learn how to ask better questions, they find that one of the things they have the hardest time with is actually doing that listening, as you talked about, because now they're thinking, what's that great next question to ask? And so I talked to them about what you just said then. If you're starting to think about a great question, this is something I said a few minutes ago, how can you just stay present, jot down some kind of things that you need to, stay present to where their thinking has evolved to, because they have likely, in part, answered some of the questions you were going to ask. And if they didn't, then you can come back to it.
Yeah, I think having that flexibility, like I can come back to it, and that's part of, I think, the inner training you're talking about. And I also wanted to respond to what you said about just your kids, right? Because when you're little, you do have to tell them what to do, right? That's your job. And then, but there's this moment, I remember Tracey describing it when she realized, I have to stop telling. It's time to stop telling my kids what to do. They're not responding anymore. I need to listen and ask and form this other, I have to start listening to them basically. And so And that, I think, is tied with learning, like you said. It's tied with, if I fight their battles, I steal their victories. That's a Billy Taylor. I really love that. But that's what you're stuck with, right?
Totally. And when people are beginners on offices, like whether or not you're a kid or you're starting off something new at work, you need to be someone to be more directed and to show you the way and to give you an example. As you develop in your capabilities, more open questioning helps someone think through and get stuck. And so how do we stay present and aware of our own tendency to want to jump in and give the answer, and also not pay attention to us paying attention to what's going on in our heads is not being present to words.
Thank you very much. And we go over to segment 3, and I'm going to stop recording this. And there's an excellent conversation which we take forward and summarize in the third segment.
I'm going to pause, process what I have heard them saying, and I've been listening to them, process the thoughts exchanged. I bet you would also be doing that. I'm quite curious to know how they summarize their thoughts on episode 3, aren't you? So let's move over to segment 3.
Segment 3, this is a gain of 10 minutes, and I heard your talk. And some of the catchwords that I got, and I was a silent listener. Although I had a temptation to start talking, but Katie told me, sit on your hand, Dr. M, so I sat on my hand. So I start talking now. There's one word that I got from Katie is respect. And the theme that I was listening to both of you is the person who's been talking, you are trying to respect him as a human being. And I was just wondering in the third segment, which is a summary of that, and all of us are professionals in continuous improvement, how do we link it with the third pillar of TPS, that is respect for people? Over to you, Elisabeth.
Thanks, Dr. M.
Yeah,
I
your
think
time.
this...
I need to start at time, Elisabeth. So your time starts now.
Thank you for allowing me some time. So yeah, this absolutely is in alignment with respect for people. It's kind of a basic, right? That if you are not truly listening to someone, you're not respecting them. And whatever is driving it, in this case, the underlying piece is waiting to talk, that whatever you can do to change that, that's part of your job, right, in terms of respecting people. And I think an extension of it, like Katie and I are talking about very personally, techniques we use to avoid that trap, the telling trap or the waiting to talk trap. And I think an extension of that is watching it around you, becoming more attuned to other people in the mode of waiting to talk. And because invariably there's people that aren't getting heard, that we're not gaining from that person's voice. So being mindful, and I've worked over time to develop techniques to get those voices heard. You don't want to shut anyone else down, right? So you have to walk a fine line of making sure you draw those voices out, but also respecting all of the people involved in the conversation. It's a bit of a dance, but a good one. I don't know. How do you deal with that, Katie?
Well, I think, all of us, as you said, have to pay attention to our own discomfort potentially with silence, as well as what's going on around other people, who are especially the ones convening a space for discussion, and who's jumping in more and who's maybe not contributing their voices as much. So how do we hold the mirror up to those people who are jumping in more and creating that awareness? Because in my experience, most people don't want the impact of shutting things down or railroading conversations. They're, like me, they were unaware that this was something that they were doing or that was the impact. So if we really want to be more intentional about the impact we're having, we have to understand, what's our purpose and what's important to us, and then what are the actions that are in line with that. And I call that leading with intention. So that's one way. I always talk about, too, I love this saying that our friend Karen Ross has, that you have to listen not just with open ears, but with open eyes, an open mind, and an open heart. And that really gets back to that respect for people. So really not really true what they're saying, seeing what's going on, having an open mind without assumptions about what that person's thinking or what's actually happening, and then an open heart to really connect and hear about what's going on for them, or is this even, are they being heard? Do they have an opportunity to contribute their voice as well? So listening is not just our ears as well. And then how do we create that space for that to happen? And be aware that, a lot of our jumping in comes from a good place, but is that really having the impact that we want? So how can we be more intentional of aligning our actions?
So great point on all the aspects of listening. And what strikes me is that 80% of communication is nonverbal. And I don't play poker because I have a terrible poker face. You can see exactly what I'm thinking and feeling. It is there for all to see. And that made me a lot more cognizant in this increasing era of online conversation, online meetings, online instruction, that my face is communicating a lot to people. And I am way more mindful, like I think Dorsey Sherman highlighted this, that she used to not look at herself on Zoom, and then she realized she wasn't seeing how her face was appearing for other people. Like, was she looking like she was listening? Was that apparent that she was taking things in, had an open mind, had an open heart? Because people can tell it's visual, it's somehow your senses are picking up when someone is not either believing you or interested or whatever that is, that they're not getting that openness. So I think that being that on all, having that intention, as you would say, and being that open on all those levels is also takes practice.
Yes, and part of building on that too, and this is so easy on Zoom, is you can be doing some emails or trying to do something else, like multitasking, but if you're not really present, and you're not really listening if you're trying to do something else at the same time. So going back to respect for people, regardless if it's online or in present, being present, are you really listening to what the other person's saying? And if not, then why are you there? So it's about making a conscious decision about showing up, respecting the moment and respecting the person.
I learned, yes. And another technique that I realized, someone gave me some feedback about it, and that was back to, we're part of a conversation, it's usually more than one person, or in the cases that it's more than one person, and someone is being shut down or trying to engage and not being allowed. And I'll be kind of overt about calling out and saying, you had something to say, and this is another thing I might, jot down. You were saying something about, and I'll remind them of the one word they got out or whatever they got out. I just wanted to come back to that, And I've had people come to me later and say, thank you so much for doing that. It made me realize I was cutting, whoever it was off. But you didn't call me out for it. You didn't say, stop cutting everyone off or anything. So it's kind of grateful that it was done in such a way that they could recognize, oh, I'm not allowing someone to talk, but then allowing that person to talk.
Oh, that gives me a lead that you did talk about a new book that is coming out.
Ooh. Yes, this topic, the opposite of talking isn't listening, it's waiting to talk, is a chapter in the book, Picture Yourself a Leader, Illustrated Micro Lessons in Navigating Change. And that comes out April 19. Yes, I will be putting, I'll give you a link, Dr. M, that you can let people sign up if they want to attend the book launch party, and more. We've got some fun things coming up, which Katie is a part of, and yeah.
No, I was going to say, and I've had a preview of the book, and it's great. So get your pre-order in.
Yeah, Katie is an esteemed member of my editorial board, and I am very, very excited that is the case because she helped make it even better. So very exciting. It's coming out, and I'm going to share an image from the book that is it's illustrated, which makes it a little bit of a specialty item. But I'm going to share an image that is from this chapter.
Lovely.
The opposite of listening isn't, talking isn't listening. Anyway, so that is there. And back over to you. I'm going to stop sharing so I don't keep hogging the airwaves there. But yeah, thank you for highlighting that, Dr. M. Really appreciate it.
Oh, you gave me the lead. You gave me the lead that I need to remind, and I've been listening very well, and it was appropriate that I don't miss out on that piece. Katie, over to you. You're saying something.
Oh, I was saying what I love about that picture is it shows what happens for us. We get triggered in a positive way by something someone says, and then we start thinking, like our inner voice starts going on. We're intrigued by that topic, and then we're like, oh, I'm thinking about the thing that happened for me, or so how do we stay present and quiet the voice inside? Yeah. Oh, yeah. One of the
little things. Say it again, Katie.
No, go ahead.
Well, it's little things like. What did you say?
So we're being so respectful and giving.
I know. No, you. It's little things like that communicate that respect, and that's why it's part of picture yourself a leader, right? Because you don't know the impacts you're having, and that's a big one, right? People not feeling like you're listening to them. So I think we often don't realize we're doing it, and it's those things it's those intangibles that we don't pay attention to that can, affect the culture, right? Affect the culture and the through line of respect for people.
Give me a one-liner, both of you. Give me one liner, and your time starts now. Give me one liner of all what we thought of waiting to talk. Start listening.
Be intentional. Get comfortable with silence. And know this about you needing to share your idea or helping someone else share theirs.
Thank you very much, Katie and Elisabeth. We take the thoughts forward, and all the best for your new book, and I'm waiting for it, and I'm so grateful that both of you came on Dr. M's SMET show. I'm going to stop recording. Thank you very much.
Hey, that was a great learning session. And honestly, me, Dr. M, to have a telling habit. So when it comes to the theme of the opposite of talking isn't listening, is waiting to talk, that applies to me. And I'm going to work on it as a suggestion given by the speakers on this episode is 1, be intentional. Get comfortable with silence. And know just about you needn't share your ideas to help someone else to share theirs. What a powerful statement. I'm going to practice it. And all those viewers and all those who are listening, it's a lot of introspection that we are need to do. I hope you enjoyed this episode 3, and you will give your comments and learning from this episode on Dr. M's LinkedIn page and his YouTube. So, waiting to listen from you. Till then, be well and stay blessed. Thank you, Katie and Elisabeth, and all my viewers. Thanks a lot.